guys, it's Janae. Welcome back. If this is your first time here, hi, welcome. Thanks for checking me out. Today I want to talk about something that's pretty prevalent in our society, and a lot of people struggle with it. And so that's anxiety, as you can see from the title of this video. So I want to talk a little bit about what anxiety is, how it can affect people, like what it looks like in different people. And yeah, so I want to start off by briefly talking about like the neurological foundation of it, because that like has always interested me. I've always wondered, like, how does like mental illnesses come about, like within the brain? What in the brain makes you feel that way and makes you do certain behaviors and things like that? I think that's so interesting. So I just wanted to give like a brief background of like kind of where anxiety comes from, like from that perspective. Bear with me, it won't be boring at all, I promise. So we have 4 lobes in our brain: frontal, parietal, temporal, and then occipital. Funny story about occipital. I was teaching kids like about the brain, like the parts of the brain in at this elementary school, and it was like I was supposed to talk about the occipital lobe. So I made this joke about the occipital lobe, saying like, you know how your mom always says like your eyes are in the back of your head? And I was like, well, it's kind of true, because that's where your occipital lobe is. And that was supposed to be like a joke, but none of the kids, like, it was dead silent. Like, I think I scarred them, probably scarred them. But after we like gave our presentation, the one thing that they learned from it was that the occipital lobe is in the back of your head. So at least I got them to learn something. But anyway, that's besides the point. So we have 4 lobes. Specifically in the medial temporal lobe is where you find something called the limbic system, and in a nutshell, that's where like your brain controls different emotions. And so in the limbic system, we have 2 specific structures that play a role in anxiety, and those 2 structures are the hippocampus and the amygdala. I'm sure a lot of you are probably aware of what the hippocampus is. Probably like if you've taken Psych 101. It's where your brain stores memories, whether good or bad memories. And then the amygdala, that's where your brain controls like different emotions like anger or fear. And so those 2 parts of the brain play a big role in like the processing and the production of anxiety. So when you experience a situation that like makes you, you know, feel scared or threatened or feared, your brain releases these like certain chemicals like serotonin, GABA, and glutamate, certain chemicals like those. And the overwhelming presence or absence of these neurotransmitters is what causes anxiety. And now it's completely normal, like these neurotransmitters like fire in your brain, like it's normal to have certain levels of these chemicals in your brain, but sometimes your brain can get a little wonky and you're either not producing enough chemicals or you're producing way too much, and that is what causes like certain imbalances in the brain and like can cause like mental illnesses like anxiety. But yeah, it's completely normal, like behavior wise, like people, you know, automatically, you know, are cautious in like dangerous situations, or are fearful, or like worried about a test, or scared to give a speech and things like that. Those are like completely normal, fine like reactions that is like very important to have, because if we didn't have those reactions, then our brain probably wouldn't tell us don't walk off that cliff, and we'd probably walk off that cliff. And so yeah, we need that part of the brain like to warn us, like, and have us be cautious. But it's just when your mind continues to focus on, you know, those worries or fears, like constantly and continually, like to the point where it affects your daily life, then that's when it turns into like a mental illness. And of course we all know that there's different forms of it, like panic disorder, generalized anxiety, social anxiety. So like if every social interaction that you have kind of like overwhelms you, or if you're highly self-conscious or overly worried about certain things and like fearful about certain like maybe irrational things, and like little like conversations, social interactions like just completely overwhelm you, or you could be restless, like it could be hard for you to sleep, or hard to focus. All of those things could be a factor or a symptom of anxiety. So it's important to like kind of note those things, and if you see those tendencies in people or yourself, then they probably have anxiety. And it's crazy because anxiety is something that a lot of people in our society struggle with and deal with, but also it's a lot of the time not diagnosed, or people don't really know that they have it, or like solely because like they don't really understand that that's what they're feeling or what it is, or like why they're feeling the way that they are, which is why it's very important to know the signs and to seek help if you are feeling like these feelings and it's affecting you living out your like daily life. But I do also have to say, I said previously that anxiety is like a really common mental illness that a lot of people like suffer from. So if you think that your struggle is like you're the only one struggling with it, like you're not alone. Like trust me, like so many people go through it and struggle with it. I know myself, I have anxiety as well, and I've been struggling with it since I was really young, and you know, it's a struggle, and honestly it's in like pretty much an everyday battle. But you know, sometimes you just gotta take it one day at a time. But no, anxiety, like I completely understand, like it's such a struggle, but the thing is you can't let it control you. Be aware, like yes, I have anxiety and that's okay, but don't allow it to control you and like overwhelm you. And I know that is easier said than done, but it's honestly all about your mentality, like the way that you think. If you continue to think negative things and rehearse those negative bad things that has happened, then it's just going to make you more and more anxious and reinforce those kind of neurons. There's this thing called neuroplasticity, and it's like when your brain creates new neural pathways. So when you're thinking those negative thoughts and keep rehearsing them, your brain is actually wiring itself to keep those negative thoughts and like wiring yourself to negativity pretty much. Your mind is a very strong, like it's very powerful, and it really can affect you a lot. If so it's just really important to like take hold of anxiety, acknowledge it, don't try to push it down because that never works. Acknowledge it, face it, but don't let it be the front seat driver. Let it sit in the back seat, let it ride in the back seat. It's there, but it doesn't have the power to control you. And that's kind of the mentality that you have to have in order to like help overcome those like worries and fears and things like that. But yeah, it's a very difficult thing to talk about, I feel like sometimes, because not a lot of people understand it. But I guess my advice would be just to find a safe space where you feel like you can kind of like talk about those emotions and express them to someone that you can trust, because that's a really good way to kind of help like sort out your feelings. And side note, I do want to say that it's okay to share your feelings, to be vulnerable, to have a mental illness. I believe that there's no weakness in that. That just shows that you're human and we all struggle through things. But I also think it's so powerful, and it shows your strength when you can, you know, talk about it and be vulnerable and share it with someone. I think that shows a lot of strength. So don't ever think for a second that how you feel, and if you were to say it to somebody, like, would make you look weak, because it's the exact opposite. I think that's the strongest thing and bravest thing that anyone could do, in my opinion. So as I said, anxiety is very, very common in a lot of people, and it's actually very common in African Americans. I was reading this article and I saw that it said about 20% of African Americans are more likely to struggle with mental illnesses, and that makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Just with like everything that's going on and everything that has been going on, a lot of Black people have to kind of be cautious and fear for their lives pretty much every day, and be on guard and just like be really careful in the things that they do. And even parents have to enforce this fear, kind of, for lack of a better word, into their kids, so that they're aware to not do certain things because you'll be, you know, judged, or something bad might happen to you just because of the color of their skin. So that makes a lot of sense. And with police brutality and just a lot of trauma that Black people have faced throughout history, that's hard, because I can't just say like, don't fear, like, don't be afraid, like in that kind of situation, because that's really hard to, how can they not be afraid, like with everything that's been happening and what they've been seeing. Like, yes, don't let fear consume you. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Don't let those emotions consume you. No, like, just be cautious. Don't fear in a way that it cripples you. Be cautious and be aware to avoid those certain things that may bring you danger, but don't let it get to where you avoid it so much and worry so much about it that it kind of cripples you in your like kind of daily life, I guess. But yeah, pretty much, like, I don't know, anxiety, it's really tricky. It's a hard thing. It's kind of a roller coaster, not gonna lie. And I think people understand what I mean by that. Like, one day you're just great, like you're fine, like you're living your life, and then the next day anxiety is like, hey, we're back. Did you forget about me? I don't know if anybody else can relate to that. But yeah, it's a process, it's a battle. But I believe that as long as you acknowledge it, I wouldn't say accept it, because accepting it is almost like the same as allowing it to be a part of you. I would say more kind of have the mentality of acknowledging that it's there, but also not letting it control you. Because anxiety, it's not who you are, you are who you are. Anxiety is just its own thing. Like, it's not who you are. That's what I'm trying to say. And we can't have the mentality, and we can't kind of act in the way that it is, if that makes sense. And even in the Bible, there are biblical scriptures that address anxiety. And to name a few, 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Even Jeremiah 29:11, my personal favorite, for I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. There's another scripture I can think of, 2 Corinthians 10:5, casting down imaginations and high things that exalt itself against the knowledge of God. These scriptures talk about ways on how you can overcome anxiety and how you can take hold of it, cast down those strongholds, those imaginations, those false ways of thinking. The answer is right here in the word, in the scriptures, and even just doing things like just continuing to reinforce positive thoughts and not thoughts of worry or fear about certain things. Create those new neural pathways in your brain. Neuroplasticity, like I was saying before, is the creation of new neurons. Make those new neural pathways that reinforce positivity and not negative thoughts. Reinforce these scriptures and not what other people tell you and make you fear or worry. The mind is a powerful thing. It all starts in the mind, in your thoughts, in the way that you think of yourself and the way that you think of certain things. It's you. You have the power to think positive thoughts or negative thoughts. Think in good ways or think of bad things are going to happen. Like, you have the power to think any way you want to think and use that power to take a hold of those negative thoughts. Use that power to reinforce positive thinking. And I promise you, it helps so much. It all goes back to the way that you think, and it all goes back to the brain, to be honest. It's your thinking patterns. In all reality, it's the way that you think is what's affecting your behavior and why you are behaving the way that you do. It all goes back to the brain. But so many people suffer anxiety, so just know you're not alone. If you're someone who's suffering, my heart goes out to you. It's a struggle. I understand. And if you ever need, I'm here. Please, talk to me. I want to help you guys through anything that, y'all are going through. If you think that if you don't have anywhere to go to talk to somebody about how you're feeling, or you don't feel like you have that safe place or someone you trust, I hope you can trust me and reach out to me with any of your problems, because I truly want to be here for you guys, and I will hear you out. Vent to me however much and however long you want. I want to be here for you guys. I will help you if nobody else will. I love you. So yeah, just reach out to me. And I also wanted to say, would you guys like to see a video about different ways to manage your anxiety? Let me know if you want to see that kind of video. Leave a comment. Give this video a like if you like this video. We're trying to get better. We are slowly getting less awkward, so that's great. But yeah, so subscribe, give this a like, share with your friends. Anybody else who is struggling with anxiety, share this with them. I'm thinking of making a video on how I manage my anxiety, or just how to manage anxiety in general. Let me know if you guys want to see that, because I'll do it. And yeah, so that's the end of this video. I feel like I talked for way too long, but I hope this helped somebody. If I can just help one person, then like my heart is full. Yeah. So yeah, I already said like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on Instagram, on Twitter. I'm starting to tweet now. I used to use Twitter a lot before, but then I kind of stopped, but I don't know why I did, because I love Twitter. Like, people are hilarious on Twitter. But I'm going off topic. But yeah, so follow me there. I'll be tweeting stuff, like random stuff that's like on my mind. And follow me on Instagram, TikTok if you want. I'm not the best dancer, but I try. And yeah, so if you want to see that, follow me there. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all have a beautiful day or a beautiful night, whichever one. And I hope to see you in my next video. And that's it. Yeah. Bye, guys.